In the wake of the 2024 election, a new wave of uncertainty has gripped the American economy, and the fault lines are already becoming apparent. As millions of voters across the United States voiced their discontent with the state of the economy, the election results showed a clear desire for change and direction. The results were a resounding call for leadership that could steer the economy away from the rough waters it's currently navigating. However, behind the scenes, the economy has been improving steadily under President Joe Biden's leadership. Despite the overall upward trajectory of the economy, marked by robust job growth, falling unemployment rates, and a slow yet steady recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, the impacts of this recovery have not reached enough people. For many voters, the recovery has felt distant, and the pain of inflation, stagnant wages, and high costs continues to dominate their lives. Yet, while the economic indicators tell one story, the political narrative emerging from MAGA Republicans tells a very different tale. The GOP, under the leadership of Donald Trump, has long been a proponent of policies that aim to fix the economy with an aggressive approach. Enter Trump's tariffs. The question remains, will his economic plans lead America into a devastating recession or even a depression? According to numerous experts, including Wall Street banks, business associations, and Nobel Prize-winning economists, the answer is a resounding yes. In this video, we will explore how Trump's economic policies, particularly his tariff plan, will not only disrupt the economy, but will likely send the nation spiraling into a crisis. And just as predictably, when the economy inevitably falters under Trump's watch, who will be blamed? MAGA Republicans and the conservative media have a history of scapegoating Democrats for every economic failure, regardless of who's actually in charge. Let's dive into why this cycle of blame and disaster keeps repeating itself, and whether or not America is truly heading for another economic disaster under Trump's leadership. Trump's tariff plans, a path to economic disaster? Donald Trump's economic policies have been defined by his relentless focus on tariffs and trade wars. During his first term as president, he imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods, targeting China, the European Union, and other trade partners. He argued that these tariffs would bring jobs back to America and force other countries to play fair in trade. But what Trump failed to acknowledge, or perhaps chose to ignore, was that these tariffs would come at a significant cost to American businesses, consumers, and the broader economy. Fast forward to the 2024 election, and Trump is doubling down on these failed policies. His plan includes implementing a 20% tariff on all imports to the United States, a move that has sent shockwaves through financial markets. Wall Street banks and business groups have already warned of the potential economic fallout from such a decision. According to experts, these tariffs would have a devastating impact on the economy, potentially pushing the nation into a recession, or worse, a depression. The economic impact, a recession or depression. The problem with Trump's tariff strategy is that it ignores the basic principles of economics. By imposing taxes on imported goods, the prices of everyday items will rise. American consumers, already struggling with inflation and high living costs, will find themselves paying even more for basic necessities. This will lead to a decline in consumer spending, which is the backbone of the U.S. economy. Additionally, businesses that rely on foreign goods for production will be forced to pay more for raw materials and finished products. These increased costs will likely be passed down to consumers, leading to even higher prices. And the worst part? Many businesses will be forced to scale back production or even shut down, resulting in widespread layoffs and job losses. But the impact won't stop there. As the tariffs pile up, the global economy could be dragged into a downturn as other countries retaliate with their own tariffs on U.S. goods. This trade war will escalate into a cycle of economic decline, where both the U.S. and its trading partners suffer. Wall Street's warning. A dire outlook. Wall Street has been vocal about the potential consequences of Trump's tariff plan. Investment banks like Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and Morgan Stanley have all issued stark warnings about the risks posed by these policies. In their view, Trump's tariffs could set off a chain reaction that leads to a deep and prolonged recession. The financial markets have already shown signs of instability, with stock prices fluctuating wildly in response to fears of an impending economic collapse. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and other business associations have also expressed concern. These groups, which represent thousands of American businesses, have argued that the tariffs will hurt the very industries that Trump claims to be protecting. American manufacturers, for example, rely on imported goods for production, and the added costs of Trump's tariffs could put many of them out of business. In turn, this could lead to higher unemployment and a sluggish recovery from the current economic challenges. Meanwhile, Nobel Prize-winning economists have weighed in on the issue, and their conclusions are alarming. Economists like Joseph Stiglitz and Paul Krugman have warned that the economic damage from these tariffs will be severe and long-lasting. According to these experts, Trump's policies could lead to a rise in inflation, decreased economic growth, and a massive loss of jobs. This would not just be a temporary setback. It could be the beginning of a prolonged economic crisis that could take years to recover from. The scapegoat game: how MAGA Republicans will blame Democrats. If the worst-case scenario unfolds and the economy tanks under Trump's watch, it's almost certain that MAGA Republicans will shift the blame to Democrats. This pattern has played out time and time again, and there's little reason to believe it will change now. When George H.W. Bush's presidency ended in the early 1990s, the economy was in recession, and Bill Clinton inherited a mess. Despite Clinton's economic successes, including the longest period of economic growth in American history, Republicans never acknowledged the role that Bush's policies played in causing the recession. Instead, they shifted the blame to Clinton and his policies, painting the Democratic president as the cause of the economic problems. Similarly, when Barack Obama took office in 2009, he faced the aftermath of the Great Recession, which had been caused by the reckless policies of the Bush administration. Yet, throughout Obama's presidency, Republicans continually tried to pin the blame on him for the economic struggles that resulted from the financial collapse. Obama's recovery efforts, though not perfect, helped to stabilize the economy and set the stage for a strong recovery, but the narrative spun by conservatives was that the economy's problems were all Obama's fault. Now, with Trump back in the White House, it's almost guaranteed that any economic downturn under his watch will be blamed on the Democrats. When his tariffs begin to take a toll on the economy, conservative media outlets will spin the narrative that it's actually the result of Joe Biden's policies, the same policies that helped stabilize the economy in the wake of the pandemic. Even if the damage is clearly the result of Trump's actions, his supporters will argue that it's the holdover effect from the Biden administration and that Trump's aggressive policies will ultimately turn things around. The media's role: conservative media and its influence. The role of conservative media in shaping public perception cannot be overstated. With outlets like Fox News, Newsmax, and OANN serving as the primary sources of news for millions of Americans, the narrative that Trump's policies are the solution will be pushed relentlessly. These media outlets will spin every negative economic development into a story about how the Democrats left the country in ruins and how Trump's bold actions are the only thing standing between America and total economic collapse. As we've seen time and time again, the media's influence is powerful. Conservative outlets will focus on blaming Biden for any economic hardship, while ignoring or downplaying the devastating effects of Trump's tariffs and other economic policies. The result is that the American public may never fully grasp the true cause of the crisis, as the narrative will be controlled by those who have the loudest megaphones. The cyclical nature of recession and recovery. Every Republican presidency in recent memory has been marked by economic recession. From Ronald Reagan's policies leading to a double-dip recession in the 1980s, to George H.W. Bush's recession in the early 1990s, to the Great Recession under George W. Bush, and even the economic crash during Donald Trump's first term, the pattern is clear. Republican economic policies, particularly their reliance on trickle-down economics, consistently lead to economic downturns. In contrast, every time a Democrat has taken office, the economy has rebounded. Bill Clinton turned around the mess left by Bush, Barack Obama cleaned up the wreckage of the Great Recession, and Joe Biden has worked tirelessly to recover from the economic devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the challenges each Democratic president has faced, they have managed to stabilize the economy and set the stage for growth. However, as history has shown, once the recovery begins, the public's patience wears thin. Not everyone benefits equally from the recovery, and many feel left behind. This frustration leads to a shift in political support, with voters seeking out the next Republican candidate who promises a quick fix, only to be met with another round of economic chaos.